Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart for those of you that are new. And today I'll be breaking down this 6-game NBA slate here for Wednesday night on DraftKings. These games start in a few hours. I wasn't able to get out a video last night for this slate. So this is going to be more so a quick breakdown, more so how I'm attacking the slate with the news we have so far. Obviously, that can, vastly change, greatly change if we get some more news here, like the Luka news. Maybe he gets ruled out. Donovan Mitchell, he's questionable. He did practice, though. As you can see right now, we have all of the Brooklyn news that came out. So a lot of news. This can definitely change by the time the slate starts in about 4 hours. So make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter if you want more updates. And I always have my updated Patreon plays before about 15-30 minutes before the slate starts. If you want to check that out, link down below. But getting into this quick breakdown here, Toronto, Washington, not much news here for this game. As you can see on the Toronto side, everyone's good to go. And then for the Washington side, same thing for the most part. Kuzma is questionable, so obviously that's kind of big news there. If he's out, could open up some value, as well as there is definitely some blowout risk here. But I mean, if you're looking to get to some lower owned contrarian plays, Toronto is going to be a fantastic spot to get to, like Siakam, Barnes, or even Schroeder. I'd probably just stick with those guys. Sure, you can get down to some of these cheaper guys like Apollo, Precious, OG if you wanted to, but I'd really just stick with the main two, possibly even Schroeder as well. It's just a fantastic matchup versus Washington. Washington side here, it's really if you want to play the blowout risk. I don't like Trey Jones or Poole, even though they'll have to shoulder more of the load if there is no Kuzma. I mean, Trey Jones, he's done better recently. As you can see, the past week and a half, 2 weeks, he's kind of averaging a little bit more than 30 fantasy points per game, which is nice. But the minutes, right? The minutes are all over the place. He's shooting very well. Don't know if that can continue, but he'll need to shoot the ball a ton if there's no Kuzma. So that's kind of the big news there. In terms of value, I know a guy like Denny should be a little bit more aggressive. Bilal is kind of priced up. Kispert's priced up as well. So you're not really getting anyone at too good of a discount there unless they really change up the lineup there for Washington. So kind of keeping an eye out for that. For Philadelphia here, we did get that, and Reed did start, got in some massive foul trouble there. So he was very limited, only played 17 minutes. Usually he's a decent point per minute guy, even though he's kind of struggled this year when there has been no Embiid. Mo Bamba was kind of the one who came out, did very well there, 7 of 8, 3 from 3, 26 minutes, priced up to 4,000. I think he's a okay play. I still think Patrick or Paul Reed will be the main guy. I do think a lot of people are going to go to more Mo Bamba just because of the box score difference. But as we saw, Paul Reed got in massive foul trouble, still played 17 minutes. So if he stays out of foul trouble, I still think he's a very, very solid play at 4.8. So we'll just put him in the player pool for now, guys to look at. But yeah, I mean, with no Embiid, it's going to be the Maxey show. He did very bad. Worst game of probably his career there. 4 of 20, could not make a shot. But the minutes, right? He's going to play pretty much the whole game. Going to shoot the ball a ton. It's really hard not to really like Maxey as a spin up today. So I'll throw him in there. But if you don't get to him, I mean, it makes sense to load up on guys like Oubre, Melton, and Harris. They're all pretty cheap for their expected role, and they're all going to play a ton of minutes. They're all going to have a good amount of shot attempts as well. I mean, they all should shoot at least close to 15 times each. Unless one of them is shooting very bad. But yeah, as you can see, they all have really, really solid upside. So really like those guys there. On the Orlando side here, not much for me to like. They're all kind of priced about right. It never feels great landing on them, even though Paulo and Franz can have some random pop-off games there. I would like Wendell at his price, but the minutes have not been great, as you can see. So not a ton to like there for Orlando. Milwaukee and Brooklyn. I would keep an eye out. There might be there might be a chance that Giannis does not play, and if that happens, would really like Middleton, would really like Damian Lillard. Brook Lopez would be a really, really solid play. He'd be pretty aggressive. And off the bench, Bobby Portis should be a little bit more aggressive. Nothing too crazy there, but yeah, I would have a ton of interest in the main three guys here from Milwaukee if that does happen. So we might have to build around that fact. Brooklyn side, as we can see here, this kind of feeds into the Giannis news. Like they ruled out pretty much the whole starting five besides Mikal Bridges and Cam Thomas. So we have no Dinwiddie, no Claxton, no Simmons. Obviously, who's been out for a while, no Cam Johnson. Lonnie's out. So they're going to be very shorthanded. Going to be a ton of value, and everyone's going to be building around the Nets. So the only thing I do have to say is they did this last year, kind of towards the end of the year, where they rested everyone in the starting five besides Mikal Bridges. He still played because he does have, I think it's an active streak of how many games he's played in a row. I think it's the longest in the NBA right now. So he's keeping that going. So last year they did that, and he only played 12 minutes, did not play much more than that. So they pretty much just gave him the start, had him play like a little bit, in the first quarter, a little bit in the second. That was it. So there could be that chance that happens again tonight where he gets his start, he plays, 12, 15 minutes at most, and then they just sit him the rest of the game. So there's that risk there. if you want to take a shot and play him, he'll be probably pretty low owned just because of that risk, I would assume, unless people are not really looking into that and they're just like, oh, Mikal Bridges will play his normal minutes, but there is that risk that he does not play full allotment of minutes because they did it last year in a similar situation as they're doing today. So keep that in mind. If you do go to Mikal Bridges, there's that chance he doesn't play a full game and only goes out there to play a little bit just to get his streak, continue that streak. But really like Cam Thomas here, 7.2K. I think he should be good to go in terms of playing the full game. Young guy, and he's going to shoot a ton. So really like him there at 7.2. In terms of other guys here, I'm assuming they'll start obviously Mikal, Royce, Cam Thomas. DFS is questionable, so what to see about that. But I would assume De'Aaron Sharp moves in the starting lineup. He's pretty much like a Paul Reed play. Same kind of guy where they're very, very productive if they stay out of foul trouble. As you can see here, had 240 bombs, one in 18 minutes, one in 22. So he'd be a fantastic play there if he gets to start. Obviously, a little bit of foul trouble risk going up against like Brook, and if Giannis does play, which could hurt Sharp, but he looks really solid. Dennis Smith Jr. should be a little bit more aggressive. Watford off the bench, he should play some pretty solid minutes here. He'd be a nice value. So I'd say more so wait and see. We're going to be wanting to build around this Brooklyn news and the Giannis news and that Philadelphia news. So we'll kind of have to wait and see. I would probably skip the first game unless you're really looking to get some cheap guys, or not cheap, but some really low-owned guys on that Toronto side in a fantastic matchup against Washington. Otherwise, if you're not, I'd say stick to building your lineups around this Milwaukee-Brooklyn game and then just get different in the other spots you want to. But yeah, the main guys for the Brooklyn side you're going to want to get to are obviously Cam Thomas. If you want to take a shot in Mikal Bridges, I don't love it, but he's there. De'Aaron Sharp, so it'd be Cam Thomas, De'Aaron Sharp in order for me. And I'd say my third favorite would probably be it would probably be Dennis Smith Jr. or Watford. It's kind of one of those, you really don't know what's going to happen here with the starting lineup. Who's going to kind of step up as that kind of that second aggressive scorer? I think it'll be kind of spread out amongst a few different people, but we do have some options there for Brooklyn. So obviously, really like the Brooklyn side. Just really looking forward to see what they do with the starting lineup. For the Nets, or excuse me, I was going to say Hornets. For the Knicks here, Brunson obviously coming off a fantastic game there on Christmas. He's been very, very good recently. Just one of those things. I don't think there's a need to spend up for him. I'd rather pay up for Max. He's $200 more expensive, and he's got way more upside. Randall's there. Barrett's there. Harden's there. They're all kind of there, but one of those things. You really have no need to get to these guys unless you're really looking to get different and fade the Brooklyn guys. In case there might be a blowout there if Giannis does sit, or if he plays, could be a blowout. And these starters for the Nets could get limited, and they could just throw the scrubs in there for half the game, which would really screw the upside there, and would really screw all the probably going to be 50, 60, 70% owned Brooklyn Nets guys on the slate. So that could be a route. You get different. You fade the Brooklyn Nets guys, and you kind of go to these other games that have good guys and good spots. But I think the most optimal build you want to go with is at least get to 2-3 Brooklyn Nets, and then just get different with your spend ups. OKC here. Love SGA, love Chat. Jalen Williams is fine there in mid-range. Really about it for me. No need to get to anyone else. Moving on to Phoenix here versus Houston. Durant, Booker, not been the best recently. Booker's really been struggling in terms of like DFS upside. Had 160 fantasy point game there. Had 2 games back-to-back there, mid of December. Otherwise, since then, he just hasn't been the best in terms of his price and his upside. But I really like him here in this matchup against Houston, even though they've been pretty solid defensively. Same thing in KD. I expect them to start figuring out here soon. Nurkic, decent spot in the mid-range. He's there. That's really it for the rest of the team here. I don't have a ton of interest in these kind of secondary pieces. Once again, would rather get to the Nets guys who are going to have more upside, more usage than anyone else there in the similar price range. Houston side, Fred and Sengun look like the best plays. Jamari is, priced up from a few, pretty good games there, but very hard to trust his output there. That's really it for me. I do like Eason as a mid-range play. Should play mid-20s minutes. He's been pretty solid. Coming off a back-to-back, we'll see kind of what happens to the minutes. He was able to go, 30 and 30 the first back-to-back there a week and a half ago. So I think he should be good to go for at least mid-20s minutes. Brooks is questionable. If he's out, that can open up a little bit more value. I don't think there's a need to get to any of the kind of other value here for Houston. They still have all the kind of their main guys. And moving on to Cleveland here, I think Donovan Mitchell, if he's good to go, is one of the best spin-ups on the slate here going against Dallas. With no Garland, no Mobley, he'll have to lead the team once again. If he's out, if he's out, then we're going to want to load up on Porter Jr., who still think comes in a pretty solid price tag. Same thing with Karis LeVert. They're going to need both their scoring. Strus to be a very solid third option. I do think, Jared Allen does have some good upside, but if there's Donovan Mitchell, I'd really just stick to Donovan Mitchell and probably Levert off the bench there. They'd be my two favorite plays. And then for Dallas, obviously, if Luka is good to go, I mean, he's been unreal. As you can see, almost 100 bomb there against the Suns. I mean, it's really no stopping him right now. So absolutely love Luka here, especially with the ability to pay up for him because of the Brooklyn Nets being all super, super cheap and resting their guys. So I would really like Luka here at 11.8K. If you want to go up that high for a spend up. In terms of the other guys here for the Nets, or excuse me, the Mavs, they're all kind of there for me. Derek Jones Jr., I think he'd be a solid pivot piece. If you didn't want to pay for like a Brooklyn Net guy, you could definitely go to him at 5,000. He should be playing big minutes. Production all over the place, but the minutes are pretty solid. And he's shooting guard, small forward, power forward eligible. Otherwise, there's not a ton of interest in this team for me besides pretty much Luka. Exum's had some few big games there. I mean, the minutes should be good for him, but production offensively is up and down. Lively, as we can see, it has some solid upside there. So I wouldn't mind him at 5.5K. If you want to get a little bit different at center, I just don't really think there's a need with Sharp and Reed pretty much being locks for today. So that's kind of the quick breakdown there. As we can see, once again, as I said, kind of wait for this Brooklyn news here to see who they do start. As I said, it'll probably be Cam Thomas, Sharp, Bridges, Royce O'Neal, and I would assume DFS if he's good to go. And out of that starting five, obviously, Cam Thomas, Bridges are going to shoot the most, be the most aggressive. And I think, O'Neal, DFS would be fine plays. Nothing out of ordinary for me. I would probably prefer O'Neal over DFS just because Royce O'Neal can have those games where he can be aggressive and he can have, good upside with the rebounds and assists, a couple steals. As we see here versus Chicago, shot 11 times, obviously 6 of 10 from 3. But as you can see, he does have some good upside there. So at 5.1, I think he'd be my third favorite play for this team here. And then off the bench, I'd really just probably stick to Dennis Smith Jr. and Watford there for me if you're looking for some cheaper value. But that's kind of the route I'm going to go. Hope you guys liked the video. Hit that like button. I'll see you guys next video. Peace.